What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Be Better podcast. We are at a third segment here for episode 35. Trish, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Excited for this episode.
Yeah, me too. This is going to be, guys, a great conclusion to kind of the three-part segment that we've been having here. We've seen it from the buyer's perspective. We saw an overview of the NAR situation and what's going on. Now, this episode's primarily going to focus on the seller portion of it. Obviously, this is a whole new can of worms we need to open with. So, Trish, if you can just give us the 1,000-foot view of what exactly
Sure.
these sellers are experiencing and what's going to happen.
Yeah, sure. So just to recap, the NAR settlement, the National Association of Realtors, sellers across the country got together and sued realtors basically because they were, you know, the lawyers convinced them that they were all tricked into paying this 6% commission, which has kind of been a standardized number, through the years. This 6% commission, which typically would be split 50-50 between a buyer's agent who brings the buyer and then the listing agent who's selling the house. It's been a very nice, easygoing way all along. But because commission prices are not allowed to be fixed per antitrust laws, the sellers were like, hold on, wait up. Why are we paying buyer's agent commissions? What is it with this standard 6%? And so thus came the lawsuit in violation of antitrust. Now, to piggyback on that just a little bit, in Missouri, our listing agreements spell it out very clearly. Here's the commission total you're paying. Here's the split between a listing agent and a buyer's agent. And it's always been negotiable, always. Like, if somebody doesn't want to pay that 6%, they can find agents that charge more. They can find agents that charge less, but it's always been negotiable. And I guess just because buyers and sellers and their agents were not having these in-depth conversations and just signing paperwork and not paying too much attention, it caused a problem. So first and foremost, always read your paperwork when signing documents. But that's where we're at. And now sellers are kind of coming across with this new attitude. They're kind of emboldened now, like, oh, we don't have to pay commission. Great. We're going to overcharge for our houses and not pay commission. You got poor buyers on the other side that are like, wait a minute, we're just trying to come up with down payments and closing costs. Now we need an extra 3%. What the heck just happened? So like heads are going to be spinning. This was supposed to go into effect in August. Then in Missouri, they bumped the date up. It was supposed to be July 1st, 2024. So like this was literally supposed to happen in a matter of days. St. Louis Realtor Board realized that everybody's caught with their pants down. Nobody's ready for this. They don't have documents in place to address all the legalities of it. So they've postponed it till the end of July now. So it's coming. It just keeps getting kicked down the road. But by national lawsuit, by the lawsuit, this has got to be in place come August. So we don't have much more time to get our, monkeys in a row and get this circus on the road. So.
So this is it's so confusing why they would do this, because I remember when I was buying my house, right? This is just me being, ignorant to the fact. I didn't understand what closing costs was and why I needed to provide an extra $6,000 at the end of the transaction.
For
So,
closing costs, yeah.
right, just for closing costs. And now you're saying, hey, now we got to come up with this other percent to cover our tail. And like, I just don't understand. One, it's going to give very misleading information to sellers, right? Um, and actually on the other side too, buyers too, because they don't know what the hell is going on. But
Right.
where do they expect people to just come up with this money? I feel like a lot of these deals are going to fall through because of these expectations.
Well, yeah, and I feel like it really is going to open up a lot of legalities. It's going to put a lot of people at risk because, yeah, you're not going to know exactly what you're up against. I mean, the thing is with the lawsuit, it is supposed to be for transparency. They want to open up conversations. They want there to be complete transparency. But at the end of the day, buyers don't have the money. Now, and I want to speak to sellers mainly because, this is Missouri. This is not LA where everybody's buying $1 million homes. This is not, New York where you're paying, $10,000 a month rent. This is Missouri. The average home price is like $300,000. You figure, And of course it goes higher, it goes low. But you figure those first time home buyers, those veterans, the VA buyers, they are not made of money. They are scrimping and saving to get into the house in the first place. And so it is going to be really difficult for them. Now, as a buyer's agent, when I do represent a buyer, my philosophy will be to do my best to get that seller to pay my commission. If they don't if they don't agree to pay it, there is a very good chance that that offer may never even get off the ground. I can write the offer all day long, but if they don't have the money to pay me and the seller refuses to pay me, then I've just worked all those hours for nothing, and that offer will not even go anywhere. It'll just die on the vine.
I have a question. So, is it possible to get that commission put in your, I guess, loan? Is that something that's possible, or do you have to bring that out of that loan, like a cash or, from your checking
Mhm.
account? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So FHA is trying to combat this exact problem because so short answer, yes, absolutely. The bigger problem is that the house would have to appraise. So say you offer somebody, you want to give somebody $300,000 for their house. You're gonna owe the commission to your realtor of say $6,000. You don't have that 6,000. So you're going to add it into the offer price. So then we're at 306 for the price of the house. If it appraises, great. You get that 6,000, it's written into your loan, which is only going to cost you a couple of extra bucks a month. It's not going to hurt you too much to put that into your loan. The problem being is if the house then doesn't appraise, say that it really only appraises for the 300, not the 306, then that deal's falling apart at that point, and then at that juncture, buyers have gotten their hopes up, they've started packing, they've paid for inspections, then the appraisal comes along and boom, pulls the rug out from under them. The agent is going to try to recoup their money from somewhere, and if the seller won't come back and be like, okay, fine, we will give you the $6,000 out of our proceeds, then again, one more hurdle where the deal can fall apart. Now, I'm going to do my best to make sure that I'm writing all that commission in to offers so that way the seller is paying it and covering it for the buyer so that it can be rolled into the loan. But it's going to, appraisal is going to be affected by that. And nobody knows where to take this next. I was talking to a lender just the other day, and lenders are not physically, like their systems are not physically set up to take this whole ball of commission money into account. Like right now, like Nate, when you went to buy your house for the first time, your lender ran the numbers and they looked at your DTI, your debt to income ratio. So your debt to income ratio looks at all your money in your bank, looks at all your assets, and then also looks at your debt, all your bills, your car payment, credit card payments. Right now, their system takes all that into effect and then spits a number up at the end and says, okay, here's what you can afford. Here, you can spend $300,000 on a house. There's no part of their system where they can pop in and be like, oh, and by the way, we need an extra $10,000 for your realtor commissions. Like they physically don't have the systems to do that in place yet. So everybody will be scrambling, and a lender will truly not know if you qualify for your loan until you get your offer accepted. They see if you have to pay your buyer's agent commission or not. Like literally everything is at risk at every step of the way. So that's why I want to focus on sellers tonight, and hopefully they've been listening to the struggles from what it comes from the buyer's side. They're listening to, all the struggles that are coming from the lending side, the appraisal side. But it's important that sellers, if you're listening and you're getting ready to sell your house, you do not want any part of this circus. You do not want to get under contract with a buyer and then have it fall apart at point A, point B, point C. The way to alleviate all of that nonsense is to start at the root, and the root is with the seller. So if the seller is educated and they have the strong strategy. So my strategy as a listing agent, I always want the biggest, broadest buyer pool possible to look at my seller's house. So that starts with a strategic list price, which, okay, that could be a, Q word for low. You want to price it as low as you can possibly stomach. That's strategic, because I'll explain why. We've got the strategic list price. We've got good pictures, good staging, all the things. The reason why we want that low list price or strategic list price is because when you go out onto Zillow or any of the search sites, you want this broad buyer pool. When people see your Zillow listing and they see, oh my gosh, 2,500 people have already looked at this. Oh my gosh, this one has over 1,000 saves. Like, you're only going to get that broad audience the lower your price. You're opening up those wide nets to cast it, to catch as many fish as you can. That kind of starts like a psychological warfare among buyers. Like, oh my gosh, we got to get out there. Look at how many people have seen this house. Look at how many people have favorited this house. It gets people interested, it gets people excited and motivated to get out there quickly to see the house. So then step B in our strategy, get people in the house. The more people you get through the house, the higher your chances of getting an offer. Once you've got one offer, then you've got some leverage. So when the other agents are calling me saying, hey, do you guys have any offers? We sure do. You better bring your highest and best. We got offers in hand. I can't straight out lie and say, oh yeah, we got offers if we don't. But as long as I've got one offer, I can start leveraging that offer, thus driving the price up. And you guys, buyers are savvy, buyers are smart. They know what it takes to buy a house in this market. And if your house is listed at 300, but you really want 350, these buyers know, oh, this house is not going for 300. I need to offer higher. We got to go higher if we want to be, competitive on this thing. So the buyers are already trained to go up. They're not going to come down unless the market shifts, but that's a different story. So we get the strategic list price. We get people in the door. We get multiple offers. We pick our best offer, the one we feel is going to get to the closing table. But here's the thing. If you are a seller not paying commission, think of what that does to your buyer pool. First of all, you're getting rid of most first-time home buyers because they don't have a pot to piss in. You're getting rid of most people utilizing VA, maybe FHA, USDA, any kind of government down payment assistance program. Like, you are narrowing your buyer pool down to a few little needles in the haystack. So you've just pulled the entire rug out from under my strategy as your listing agent. So we want to keep that broad, wide net on as many buyers as we can get. The way to do that is to offer some buyer agent compensation.
Yeah, and that makes that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it worked so well for so long, and then they throw a big wrench in the chain and now expecting people just to adapt quickly. I mean, it just I don't
Yeah,
know.
people aren't trained. They don't have that mindset yet. So think about it, like, so I had a listing appointment just yesterday, and they were very savvy because the it was a brother and a sister. They're selling their mom's house. They were very savvy. The sister is kind of an investor type. She flips houses here and there. She's probably sold a dozen houses in the last 10 years, maybe 5 years. I don't know, but a lot of houses compared to the normal everyday Joe. And then you have her brother who has bought and sold maybe 2 houses in his life. So we've got two different perspectives there. Both of them had heard about the NAR settlement. Now, the sister who sells more houses, she seemed to know more about the settlement and had a lot of questions. The brother, he was just like, I don't see why we got to pay commission. Like, can't we just give you 4%? He's like, what? Because I told him I normally charge a 6% commission. Now, that can vary depending on the situation, but let's say a typical 6% commission. And he's like, well, can we just pay you 4%? And then if you feel like paying the other side, the other buyer's agent, you can do what you want with them. Now, what's ironic is under the new law, I can absolutely do that. I can take a commission for myself and I can decide on a case by case basis somewhat. I mean, there is some type of agreement in the background lingering, but it's all gray area now. I can pick and choose who I want to give a commission to or not give commission to. And me and the seller together, we can decide offer by offer what we want to do with a buyer's agent commission or not. And to me, that opens up a lot of room for discrimination or bias or just I feel like it opens, I think it does the opposite of what the settlement was trying to do. I think it opens everybody up for a lot of risk instead of this big grand rainbow conversation of open, oh, everything's going to be so transparent. I feel like it's, everybody in these deals are human beings and everybody is out for themselves and they want the most money they can get in their bottom line. I just feel like this whole settlement is going to do the opposite and just create a lot of havoc and room to just screw people over. Honestly, I hope not. I hope not. It's up to realtors to really stay educated and educate buyers and sellers. But it really opens up a lot of doors for a lot of different things that could happen that I know the DOJ did not intend. So, yeah.
I feel like as a buyer realtor, I feel like I would be stressed out putting all those hours and going in all those different places and and potentially not getting paid, right? Because that's what the new law puts you at risk for. Is that what I'm hearing correctly, right?
Yeah, yeah. So in order for a buyer to go see any house, so even if you click the Zillow button, hey, I want to see a house on Saturday, doesn't matter. You will have to sign a buyer's agreement with a realtor saying that if you buy the house with them, you will pay them commission. Now, the commission can come from the seller. That's fine. But one way or another, you will make sure your realtor gets paid. But here's the problem. That's all just speculation. You could, as a buyer's agent, I could show somebody 100 houses. They might never buy any one of those houses. So first of all, I'm already working on spec to begin with as a buyer's agent. That's why it's hard to be a buyer's agent. Second of all, and I don't even want to say this out loud because as a realtor, I don't want this to ever happen to me and put this seed into people's brains. But the reality of it is, if a buyer looks at a house and they love the house and the seller is not paying commission and you don't want to pay your buyer's agent a commission, what's to stop you from going straight to the listing agent and cutting your realtor out? There's really not a lot
Oh my God, yeah.
stopping stopping that. And I can see that that could be the wave of the future, is that buyers will just go directly to the listing agent because then that way they know they're not going to have to pay anything out of pocket. But here's the huge risk of that. And this is why buyer's agents were put into place all
Right.
those years ago. You don't have any representation. If you don't have an agent in your corner, how are you going to negotiate a bad inspection, a low appraisal? If the sewer lateral comes back and it's collapsed or termites are found, you're not going to know what the heck to do. So, like, the buyers are opening themselves up to a world of risk if they go into these deals unrepresented. But I think that that's the environment that's going to be created as a result of the new settlement.
Well,
That's
I
yeah,
also think as well. I also think as well, right? It's just you got people that don't know what they're talking about, trying or know what they're doing, and it's not their fault, right? But the average person does not know the ins and outs of real estate, right?
Right.
Especially not on the buying side or the selling side, for God's sake. But what you're going to have is these people are going to be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to cut out the middleman and save a couple $1,000. I'm going to do it myself. Well, that sounds good in theory, but what's going to happen is, they're going to miss out on these things that a selling agent or a listing agent would pick up on, and they're going to get taken advantage of, as we mentioned before. I mean, that's the reality of it, right? Like, these people are going to think it sounds good to save a couple $1,000. I mean, you're saving $1 a day to pay 10 tomorrow because now you didn't
Yeah.
see all these things that happen. You didn't see the termites and you didn't see the cracked foundation and you didn't see, obviously the inspections are critical, but you're not seeing what a realtor sees in those categories.
Yeah,
So
I'm
now,
sure.
glad you bring that. I'm glad you bring that up too, because one of the big things I've been telling my buyers, or well, I haven't had to tell too many yet, it's just starting. But one of the big things that I'm going to push onto my buyers and make sure that they understand, just like a good accountant, my accountant had told me years ago, look, yeah, I'm charging you $300 a month, but the money I'm going to save you is going to be way more than that $300 a month. So
right.
Same concept. The 8,000, the 12,000, whatever you're paying me as your buyer's agent or whatever I wind up getting paid at the end of the day, I am likely saving you that multiple times over, just because first of all, we're making sure we negotiate the best price. We're making sure that we negotiate the most we can on inspections. All the things every inch of the way. I'm getting you discounts with my vendors, discount at my title company, like all those things. And but switching back to sellers, the same thing goes for the seller. When I'm talking to a seller and they're like, "What? I'm paying you, like I personally am getting paid, whatever it would be, 3%, 3.5%. I'm paying you 3%. I mean, you figure on $1 million home, that's a good payday. But I tell them the same thing. The 30 grand you're paying me I'm going to make that back up in the multiple offers above list price. The fact that we're not just going to sell your house for $1 million, we're going to wind up selling it for $1.3 million. That makes my 30,000 you paid me not look too high anymore, So, a good realtor is going to save you or make you money. They're not going to cost you money. And that's why you've got to, no matter if you're a buyer or a seller, you've got to flip your mentality and look at it as, what is my rate of return on this investment I'm paying this realtor? And as sellers, it's the same thing. My couple I met, the brother and sister I met with the other day, same thing I told them. Look, just pay the 2.5% or 3%. I don't want to give my number because if I share my exact number, it's antitrust violation. So always know I'm talking in quote unquote hypotheticals. So I tell them, look, the 2.5% you're going to pay a buyer's agent, it's going to be $7,000. The rate of return you're going to get on that $7,000, it'll be the best $7,000 you've ever spent. Forget doing, painting the walls, forget doing a new driveway, pay the buyer's agent, because that's who's going to bring in the buyers, and that's what's going to get you your highest rate of return at this point. So that's what I'm telling sellers. Look at your rate of return on that small percentage. It's going to come back tenfold.
Yeah, that safety blanket that you provide would be very, very beneficial for them. So I definitely I like where that's going. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on the potential NAR settlement affecting the sellers? As like, do you think it's going to evolve over time? Do you think they're going to make any changes down the road? I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I think they're going to have to, because it's going to be like the Wild West for several months. I mean, they've already started changing things and narrowing things down. And honestly, they haven't made it any easier. They just keep making it harder and harder and harder. I'll give you a couple of examples, but yeah, like, you make a good point with that. Right now, we're all like just lost children in the wilderness trying to find our way. Because as of, I don't know if it's July 1st or August 1st anymore. I think it's August 1st. The MLS is going to remove all advertisements for buyers agents commission compensation. So right now, like, I can look in the MLS and I can see, oh, I'm getting paid 3% here, getting paid 2% there. And so I know exactly what I'm going to make on that deal. So, whatever. That's great. I feel like that's transparency. All those fields will drop off of the MLS come August 1st. So I will have no way to know if I'm getting paid, what are they paying, without like making a phone call or, whatever you've got to do to figure it out. Me, as a listing agent, I was thinking, okay, well, I'm going to advertise it on my website, or I'll send out an email blast when somebody schedules their appointment. I'll email them back and be like, hey, guess, just by the way, we're paying 2.7% commission on this one. I thought that was a great idea. Well, no, I guess I wasn't the first one to think of it, because then last week they just put out a notice that says you cannot use any software associated with the MLS to advertise your commission payout. So like literally I'm like, okay, so it has to be a phone call. So I try to, the next thing I did now is I bought little sign toppers for my listings, and it says paying buyer's agent, and I'm going to put that on top of my sign. Well, I found out the other day they're trying to outlaw that too. And it's like, literally, I don't know how much more they can shut our mouths. They really, truly, I feel they don't want buyers agents to be in existence. I feel like they're trying to squash them out of existence. And I don't know. I mean, I've got my conspiracy theories as to what that could be about, but I don't know if this is the time or the place. But I really don't know on surface level why they're trying to harm the buyer's agent in such a way that they can't conduct business, because buyers truly need representation. You really do, because you don't know what you don't know. And my husband sits here and listens to me talking on speakerphone all day long because we share an office. And he has told me so many times, he's like, how does anybody ever buy a house? If everybody knew how many things could go wrong in an average transaction, he's like, nobody would ever buy or sell a house. He's like, this is terrifying. Like, so many things on every, no two transactions are ever alike, because there's always something that blows up in your face. And, again, you don't know what you don't know. So if you go in unrepresented, so I don't know how anything will ever get done without just a plethora of lawsuits after the fact. It's going to open people up to a lot of liability and risk, in my opinion. But we just have to stay educated. Realtors have to make sure that they are just keeping everyone above board and portraying their value, because if we don't know how to portray our value, nobody's going to just give us money out of the kindness of their hearts. They need to really know what our value is. And that's why it's important as realtors that you really do self-evaluate and know what you're bringing to the table, and know what to tell buyers and sellers when they ask you, well, why should I give you $10,000? You better have an answer, or we're going to have a lot less realtors in the world, which again, might not be the worst thing, but I hope everybody the best. It's going to be a hard road for all of us. We're all trudging our way through.
It makes me think that all the buyers, realtors, are going to downsize because no one wants that risk. And it also makes me think that do you think, I kind of feel like there's a lawsuit waiting to happen, like you mentioned earlier, counteracting the lawsuit that already happens. I don't know anything about law, but this is just me kind of speaking out loud. Like, I feel like that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, right? Like, it just makes
Yeah.
sense. So,
Well, it's funny because I think last time we talked, I was getting ready to host that realtor seminar on the NAR settlement. It went really well. That happened on Tuesday this week, and it went
congrats.
really well. And somebody in the crowd said that, like when we were talking about the NAR settlement. And trust me, when I'm talking to other realtors, I have a much different tone than I have with you guys. I mean, this is a little more casual, and I might sound a little more panicked. But when you're talking in front of a room of realtors, you have to be upbeat, and this is great, and we're all going to make plenty of money. We're going to be fine. Nothing to see behind the curtain over there. But with you guys, I'm just being real. Like, there are some real concerns with the boots on the ground. People on the ground are worried. But no, the event went well, and somebody from the crowd said, "Yeah, the next lawsuit's going to be all those unrepresented buyers who got screwed over by listing agents." It's like, yes, it is. That's exactly what I see happening.
So I know you said our Missouri got pushed back. Was there any other states that it's supposed to be starting on time around that July 1st, you think, or is that
I don't
pushed back
think
at all?
so. So yeah, I mean, I believe August 17th was the deadline that the NAR settlement had outlined for everybody. And this whole lawsuit started in Kansas City, Missouri. So the whole country hates us. They think we're a bunch of Yahoo hicks down here that don't know how to sell houses. And like, we're over here in Kansas City, Missouri, screwing people over. So yeah, Kansas City, Missouri got put on the map because that is where the lawsuit originated. So I think Missouri has been trying to lead the way and set an example for the rest of the country. So we were trying to be real gung ho, and they sent out the forms like a month ago for us all to, review. Maybe not a month, but at least a few weeks ago to review. And it was hilarious because I'm looking at this new listing agreement. It's 9 pages long. There's like 30 some odd boxes that you got to check mark. Yes, I'm paying commission. No, I'm not paying commission. I understand that I may be paying commission. Like, and at the end of the page, it says, like, literally at the bottom of the page, it says, everything you've checked may change with with the submission of offers. This is just a guideline. And it's like, what the hell did we just sign all this for? Like, it literally at the bottom of the page said, this means nothing. We just wanted to make sure you signed everything and knew your rights. I mean,
Mhm.
it's such a waste of paper. But yeah, 9 pages on a listing agreement. And then the new buyer's agency agreement is going to be like 7 pages long. Like, can you imagine if you click the dang Zillow button just because you want to go tour the house at the end of the street? And some agent shows up, it's like, oh, you got to sign this 7 page agreement before I can unlock the door. Like, who's gonna do that? Like, it's gonna be insanity. But I gotta say that I love EXP because my brokerage was like first on the scene, and they've created their own 1 page buyer's agent agree. It's not really a full buyer's agent agreement, but it's a 1 page buyer's agreement that basically says, yeah, I'll show you the house, I'll probably get paid. Like, it's very vague and very simplistic. But if you don't have a broker that's taking the bull by the horns and trying to rein this thing in, you could drown in this craziness, because I don't know, unless you stay on top of it, you're going to be just floundering. But yeah, I do think Missouri's trying to lead the way, because we were the ones that got sued in the first place, that brought everybody into this mess with us. So yeah, we've been trying, but yeah, as far as I know, I think it's like July 23rd, July 26th, something like that. But, and then maybe it got pushed back to August 1st today. I don't know. The dates keep changing quicker than I can even read my emails. So it's just, it's really nuts.
But that's a scary sign that it keeps fluctuating. People don't know what they're doing. Things are constantly changing. I think someone's gonna get, they're gonna be
Yeah.
spending a lot of money, unnecessary money, and they're gonna be in a bad spot. So
So
everyone listening, be careful.
So I always
Yeah.
think of things from a business perspective, right? I've been in business my whole career. I do many things in the business category, right? And I'm a numbers guy. So when I try to think about this, like, I'm just trying to kind of think of some ideas here of like how the selling agents would be able to get paid. And the reality is, I think the only option would be they'd have to change their structure a little bit on how the deals worked, and then your selling agents would have to go to almost like a salary position at their companies, right? And then they'd be tracked on, obviously closing percentages and how many deals they're actually closing a year. So the average realtor, let's say the people that do, not you, Trish, because obviously you're a rock star, but the average realtor that does maybe 5 transactions a year, um,
Hmm.
no brokerage is going to keep them, right? Like, those people are going to phase out, because why would we pay you a salary of X when you're only bringing in 5 deals a year, right? So that's going to eliminate those positions. I'm just trying to think if somehow that's what they're trying to shoot for to thin the herd out. I don't know, but I mean, based on the conversation in the last 2 segments plus this one here, we both, all three of us, and hopefully everybody else out there, can agree that buying a house without representation is the worst thing you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the worst thing you can do. That's like buying a car before you drive it. You would never do that, right? People do it, and I don't know why, but people do it, and I don't agree with that decision. However, I'm trying to think from a business standpoint, what would make the most sense, and it would have to be, these part-time realtors would kind of phase out, right? Um, the brokerages or agencies would have to give them a salary position. And then, hey, if you don't sell, it's like any other sales organization. If you're not hitting your quota, right, they put numbers in place. If you're not hitting your quota, let's say it's 4 houses a month, you're out. So
Hmm.
I don't
Well, and
know what makes
I could
sense.
I could see Zillow doing something like that, because Zillow has already started. They started a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, hiring actual agents, I believe, not in Missouri, but I've heard that they've been hiring agents in other test markets to be strictly like Zillow, like work for Zillow. And I could see that Zillow is a big enough company, and Zillow, let's be honest, they want to own the world. They want to
Sure.
rule the world. And they may someday, between Zillow and Amazon, you probably one of these days be able to say, hey, Alexa, sell my house, and Zillow will pop in and you'll have an agent at your door to put a sign up. But, until that day comes, I could see Zillow turning into more of a business model like that. Similar to, there's a company, it's called Showami, don't know how to pronounce it, but you can hire them to show houses for $50 a pop. and they're
Oh
not
boy.
they're not a buyer's agent. They're not anything. There's no representation. They just show you a house and it costs you $50. I mean, I could see it turning into that. I mean, me personally, I would not want to go show a house even for $50 because it's like, you got to drive there.
Yeah, it's
uh,
not worth it.
but right. But, I could
Which bucks
see
my
business models popping up like that for sure.
That's horrible. I hate that you just said that. That sounds absolutely horrible. I mean, that sounds like it's like me and Matt got together. We're hanging out at night, and I was like, it'd be a good idea if we just showed houses and made $50 a pop. Like
Yeah.
that's
Somebody
how that
did think
sounds.
it was a good idea.
bringing like nice idea. This
Yeah,
is a good idea, $50.
that's
Yeah.
so bad. That's so
Yeah.
bad, and it's so misleading. And I mean,
Well,
like
I,
when I was
yeah,
buying my house, right, we did such
uh-huh.
a thorough investigation on everything, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, buying your house is the biggest purchase in your life, right? And
Yeah.
selling your house is the biggest transaction you're ever going to have until you buy another house, right? Like your
Hmm.
home is literally the largest for most people, excuse me. If you're Mark Cuban, it might be
Yeah,
different, but
right.
for the average American, buying or selling a home is the largest dollar figure transaction you're ever going to do. So why would you not want to cover your ass 110% and make
Yeah.
sure that you're not skipping any steps, you're not missing anything, you're not being taken advantage of? I mean, the common sense here just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But
Well, and I
have that. Crazy.
yeah, I always tell buyers and sellers the same exact thing, and you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, this is the biggest investment of your life typically. So you want representation whether you're the buyer or the seller. And as a seller, you think about it, say you want to save that 2 or 3% in your pocket. Think of the risk you're putting yourself at if an unrepresented buyer comes in, buys the house. Then all of a sudden they feel like, oh, this seller's disclosure was misleading. Oh, I was misled on inspections. Oh, whatever it might be. If they don't have representation, the only person on the hook at that point is your listing agent and you as a seller. And so having the buyer's representation with the buyer's agent adds that layer of protection to protect you from any risk and liability. And if you're selling a $500,000 house, that 2 or 3% that you're going to offer the buyer's agent is well worth the protection it gives you. First of all, like I mentioned before, your rate of investment on that return is going to be huge because you've got this huge, a much bigger buyer pool that's looking at your house, making offers on your house. And then you've got that layer of added legal protection that protects you from liability and risk. So yeah, it's a very small price to pay when you look at the grand scheme of things. And yeah, I think you're right, Nate. I mean, you want that representation because this is the biggest investment or the biggest return of your life. You want to make sure that you're maximizing it and protecting yourself both at the same time. So, smart sellers will continue to offer that buyer's agent commission, I believe. It's just a matter of how much will they pay from moving forward? Will they will they buy into what I'm talking about here today? I don't know. I don't know if they will or if they won't. So far, I'm not batting very well with my listing appointments. My last couple of listing appointments, I've had to fight hard for commission. The brother and sister, we are paying out a 2.5% commission on that one. But the prior one I went the week before, he's only paying out 1%. And like I said, my phone's been ringing and agents have been jumping down my throat. So I feel like I'm only batting, 500 on this one so far. So I don't know what sellers are going to be thinking moving forward, but I hope that they all make the right decision and continue to pay out some kind of buyer's agent commission for their own good and their own return.
I definitely agree. I mean, if you were a genie, right, and you told me, hey Nate, for 2 to 3% of X number, I can make sure you never get fucked over, excuse my language, taken advantage of again. um, I would give you that 2 to 3%. I mean, there's not even a question, right? Like it's
You're
worth
hedging your bet. You're hedging your bets there.
Right.
right. Like it's worth having the insurance aspect and security that you're not going to be taken advantage of and you're not going to miss out on anything. I mean, it's just I mean, I would not I don't know. It's like living your whole life without health insurance. Why would you do that? Right? Something eventually is going to happen to you. Like I don't understand the
Yeah.
logic there. I mean, it's
Well, and I know people have been doing FISBOs forever, the for sale by owners. That's been going on forever. But the rate of FISBOs, I mean, the rate of failure, you go on market, you get under contract. I think FISBOs, 75% of them fail before they ever get to the closing table. I don't know the real number, but it's a very high number. It could be higher than 75%. Who even knows? But I know, like, up the street, um, they didn't want to pay me. They didn't want to have a listing agent. They were for sale by owner, and they've been on the market 3 times now. They keep getting under contract, it falls apart. Back under contract, falls apart. I'm waiting for them to just hire me, but their cheap asses will not. And I'm like, "Oh, all right, well, good luck to you." But
That's
yeah, 3
absolutely
times they've been back on market now, and I just every time I see that sign go back up, I'm just like, "Mhm, told you.
told you so.
Told you."
Yeah. So I know we're obviously getting close to time and that we allotted and all this good stuff. So I mean, is there anything as part of this goes that we have not covered yet that you need people to know or they should know?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. One little tidbit I will say, and this might not mean much to everybody, but the one thing I will say is FHA, VA, the lenders, they are trying really hard to make sure that this has as little impact, negative impact as possible. And FHA did do a really good thing. A couple weeks ago, they announced that so let me give you a little history. On FHA, there's a maximum amount you can get from a seller. That's called a concession. The seller concessions can only equal 6% total. So FHA says now moving forward, if you have to add your buyer's agent commission into your loan, it won't count against your 6% that you can request back. So in an FHA loan, you can request back 6% of, like, say, seller credits towards closing costs or inspections or whatever. So if you do have to pad your buyer's agent's commission into that loan, it doesn't count towards your 6%. So that is a silver lining. That's a good thing that FHA did. The other thing that VA did, because VA lenders, the VA loan will not allow veterans to pay any fees of any kind. They have lifted that ban. So you can now book that into a VA loan. You can pay it out of pocket if you have to. So I will say that everybody's trying really hard to wrap their head around this and embrace it and make it work. But everybody's going to just have to really, really make sure they're working with an educated realtor. And realtors, if you're out there and you're listening, I would love to bring you alongside and partner up with you, because I pride myself on being a realtor nerd, and I try to know every single thing coming down the pipe. So if your broker or your team leader is not that type and you feel like you're hearing all this for the first time, call me. I love to educate people. I love to bring people alongside. I'm not trying to take anything from anybody. I just love to partner up with people, lift people up. And I feel like the more I give, the more I'm going to get back. So that's my total mindset. So I'm here to help buyers, sellers, other realtors, whoever might have questions or help or need help. I'm an open book. I will help whoever I can help. But yeah, there's like 170 more laws, or aspects to this law that we haven't touched on, and that's okay. It's going to come out in the wash eventually.
So if people are looking to, obviously we've mentioned this before, but I want to just hit this point home. If people are looking to partner with a knowledgeable, successful person who knows what they're doing, has been down this road, kind of knows what to look out for, where can they go to find that person?
You mean me? No.
I do, yes. So where
You
that was me nonchalantly telling you to plug yourself in.
Yeah, so you can find me on all the socials at Trish Wolf Realtor. You can Google me if you look up Trish Wolf, real estate agent, St. Louis, St. Charles, Lake of the Ozarks. I should pop up. I literally am everywhere. But you can find me on YouTube, and I'm sure that Nate will put my link down below somewhere. Or I don't know, what is this, on Spotify? I don't know how that works, but somewhere you Google Trish Wolf, St. Louis Realtor, you are sure to find me. So yeah, I'm not hidden. I'm not an undercover agent. I am definitely out there. So you'll find me.
So with that, I think that's a good place for us to kind of wrap up as well. I mean, obviously, guys, I can't stress this enough. If you've made it to the third part of this segment, um, if you're not in the market right now to buy or sell a house, at least follow Trish so you can look. She just had a seminar the other night about this whole thing, and there's a lot of great content in there. Um, just at least give her a follow to stay in the loop about this, right? Because all of us at some point, mostly, are going to be buying or selling a house, right? And it's good for you to get a kind of leg up on this situation, so you at least know what to expect, know what's going on. Then, obviously, the best case scenario, and she has my vote here. Whenever you're ready to make that move, obviously contacting her directly, she'd be more than happy to work with you. But in the meantime, it does not hurt for you to educate yourself so you can kind of stay ahead of the curve. That would be my recommendation, my policy prescription on how to make sure you're not getting taken advantage of. Guys, we get taken advantage of enough with this country with our taxes, some of the crazy laws, all these other things out there. Please do your research, do the right thing, and stay ahead of this curve before it bites you in the tail. Please, please,
Yeah.
please.
Power. Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is always power. Well, guys, I will say this. Trish, thank you so much for doing this 3-part segment with us. It's been so
Thank
crazy
you.
to learn about this. I'm pissed off. I'm excited. I'm scared. Every emotion going through me right now with this. And I just appreciate you kind of walking us down this road to show us and explain and give some light on this crazy subject.
Yeah, it's kind of thrilling to see, to be at the forefront of such a new frontier. I mean, terrifying and thrilling both at the same time. So we will go through it together, and maybe in 6 months we can do a follow up and see what the hell's happened.
That actually is a really good idea. I like that a lot. I was going to say that as well. So I'm all for that. I mean, anytime I'd say let's give it some time to have this, to let the
Man,
dust settle and see what
Yes.
really comes out of this. And then
Yeah.
I think you should definitely come back on and give a recap so people can kind of see and you can say again, hey, I told you so. So,
I
and
love
Trish,
it. Yes.
do you have any seminars coming up? I know you just had one recently, but do you have anything coming up for the audience?
Nothing yet, but I've been thinking about putting on like a buyer's seminar possibly, because a lot of people were asking if about something like that. So if I do, I'll give you guys a shout out and you guys can maybe post about it. But I was thinking that maybe we would do something for buyers, because everything I do is always revolving around realtors and realtor education. But there's going to be a lot of questions that buyers are going to have. And I really do think that people aren't paying attention and they aren't watching the news and listening to what's going on. And they're going to be just sucker punched in the face come August 1st when they try to go look at a house, and they'll be like, wait, what do you mean I got to sign a form? Like they're going to be very, very confused. I think I might have told you this one, but at Easter, I was talking about this with my own family, and half of them didn't even believe me. They're like, oh, that'll never happen. It's like, dudes, it's already happened. It just hasn't been implemented. It's happening. And my stepsister was like, you're wrong. That could never happen. I'm like, okay, whatever. So my own family like literally didn't even believe me. So it's gonna happen. It's here. So we'll see how it unfolds.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had no choice. We're definitely going to see how it unfolds. So, all right, guys, this is the end of this episode 35, part 3, wrapping up the first little segment thing that we've done here. It's been so fun and crazy to learn all this. My mind is just swimming with, I don't even know what to call it now. Questions, concerns, I don't know. But
Join the club, Nate. Join the
yep,
club. You and
I
every
know.
other realtor in town. And
I
there's
know.
nothing but questions. Every time you learn anything new, there's just another question. So
Yep.
we'll figure it out, and keep you guys posted in a few months.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, if you've made it this far, please, like I said, I can't recommend it enough. Follow Trish on all her platforms to stay informed. Obviously, if you're in the market to buy or sell a home, her and her team are the absolute best. I cannot and not endorse them enough. They are fantastic to work with. Not only have I personally worked with them before on some other things for the education side, but as well as when I sell my home in the next year, you best believe I'm going through Trish and her team. If you've made it this far as well, do us a favor, like, subscribe on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, like us on Facebook, send us a message, tell Matt he has a good beard and a nice haircut, whatever you need to do. But I will leave you as I always leave you. If you don't do anything else, just try to be a little better. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Peace.